So you want to know the trick to marketing your web design business without sounding exactly like everybody else? Let's talk about that today. That keeps coming up over and over. So I'm Lee Blue. I'm the founder of DoubleStack. And if you want to build your own six-figure web design business, let's get on the phone and talk about it, right? So that's what we're talking about. One aspect of that today, which is what can you do to market your business so that you don't sound exactly like everybody else, right? So what does everybody else do? So I've reviewed hundreds and hundreds of websites for web designers, and almost all of them say almost exactly the same thing, right? So you list your skills, and whatever that list of skills might be, put that on the site. So it's going to be web design, graphic design, branding, maybe SEO, different kinds of marketing, like those types of things. Everybody generally has the same set of skills, and therefore they market themselves in almost exactly the same way. And the end result of that is you position yourself as this garden variety web designer where everybody is just kind of doing the same thing. Pick this person, pick that person. It doesn't really matter. And that means you're going to be competing mostly on price. So if you're competing on price, how are you supposed to get the rates up so that you're making the money that you want when you're competing against people on Upwork and Fiverr and everywhere else that is, yeah, look at Ralph. Ralph just closed another great project. High five to you. So if you're going to try to get your pricing up and you sound exactly like everybody else, then people are going to be like, hey, that's more expensive than I thought. I can't work with you. You're charging too much. Let me go to the next guy and get the same thing for less. So that's an issue. And then you end up attracting these random kind of low budget projects because people are kind of going to you to try to figure out, here's what I want you to do. Can you do it for me? And so you never know what people want from you. And it becomes a big mess. And so what can you do to just throw all of that away and create an actual business where you're really working with the clients you want at the price that you're really worth so that you're building your own six-figure web design business rather than just doing random jobs and, tapping out at around $40,000 per year, which tends to be where you end up landing if you don't make the shifts that we're talking about right now. So let me frame it in a different way. So instead of talking about web design, let's talk about like Home Depot, right? So if you wanted to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, they've got wood, they've got nails and screws. So if you were, say you wanted a deck off the back of your house or something like that, would you go to Home Depot for that? It's like, who goes to Home Depot to get a deck? The cheap people, the people that don't want to hire somebody else, or the professionals who need to get the supplies to do the work. But like if you're just an average person and you're thinking, man, it'd be great to have a deck on the back of my house, the low budget, do-it-yourself kind of people are the ones that go to Home Depot to try to find and get the ingredients to build their deck, right? To get the supplies. And so if you find yourself positioning yourself as like a Home Depot for web design, where you offered the raw materials to do the work, you're going to start attracting like the do-it-yourselfers who don't really want to do it themselves. They want you to do the work, but it's the do-it-yourselfer people, the people that are looking for the raw materials. You're not going to find people who are looking for deck. If you actually wanted to go get a deck, and if I was like, I just put a deck on the house. Well, it's been a few years now, but when I was doing that, I went to find people who knew how to build a good deck, right? Like that's not part of my skills. I don't do that. I do other stuff. And so I want to find somebody who's really good at that and specifically at building decks. And we had a specific plan in mind for how we wanted to all work out and everything. And so we found that person. But that's the thing. It's like they took the raw materials and then they said, hey, this is the deck. Would you like to have a deck? They were marketing the deck. They weren't marketing the board, the lumber, the screws, the drills. They weren't marketing the raw resources. They're marketing the deck. And that's where you want to be as a web designer. You don't want to market the raw resources because then your pricing is going to be based on what people think those raw resources cost. And as we all know, web design is cheap and websites are cheap and it keeps getting cheaper. The more people that are out there willing to offer the same raw resources, the more competition there's going to be, the price is going to go down. And that's what we're seeing all over the place, even to the point where your job is almost fully automated. It's like, just go into Wix or Squarespace or wherever. It's like, go somewhere like that. And people don't even need people like us anymore. And so you don't want to be in a situation where you're just selling the raw tools. You want to put a deck together. Let me give you another example. Suppose you're like an artist and you wanted to sell some art. And like, I was actually just talking to a guy who kind of focuses on doing online marketing for artists. And I don't really know a whole lot about art. And so I was really curious and started looking at this guy's website and some other websites that kind of sell art. You can buy art that costs like $15,000 and off of a website, and they send you this framed art it's not even that huge. It's not like an entire mural for your wall or anything. It's just like, I don't know, 2 feet wide, 3 feet tall, like kind of big, but not gigantic. But it's like $15,000. And so where's the value in that? Is the value in how much the canvas costs and how much the paint costs and a couple of brushes? Like, are you going to be selling that? Like, if you go out there and you wanted art, would you say, well, I'm going to just go out and I'm going to buy a canvas, I'm going to buy some paint, I'm going to buy some brushes, and Shazam, now I've got art? It's like you would never do that, right? You can't do that. You can't create the art. And the value of the art is vastly higher than the value of the raw materials that go into making the art. Like there's no way it would cost $15,000 to get a canvas, some brushes, and some paint, right? So that's what we're talking about with web design. So like if you feel like you are positioning yourself as, hey, I'm selling the canvas, I'm selling the paint brushes, I'm selling the paint, and that's why you hire me, then you're going to find yourself leaving so much value on the table. It's like the difference between like the $30 of supplies that you have to buy in order to create the $15,000 piece of artwork is dramatic, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you're out there as a web designer and you feel like you can really create art with your work, then sell the art, not the tools, right? So don't list on your website graphic design, branding, SEO, content marketing, email management, whatever. That's like saying I sell canvases, I sell paint, I sell paintbrushes. Hire me and I'll create whatever you want. But if I were to hire you like that, I could, in the context of this art thing, I couldn't tell you what I want. I don't know what I want, right? It's like, come and look at my room and you tell me what goes well in here, right? Like use your skill as the artist to tell me how big the art should be and what the colors ought to be and what the feeling ought to be. And, you tell me all of that stuff, bundle it together and then provide that. And that's $15,000, right? Like if you just say, I have canvases, I have, if I'm just going down to the art supply store, I'm not looking to spend $15,000, right? That's the big difference. And so you don't want to be in this situation where you're just selling the lumber at Home Depot or you're just selling the canvases and the paint brushes and the paint at this art store. It's like you want to be the person that's selling these like awesome decks. You want to be the person that's selling these awesome $15,000 works of art. That's where you want to be. And so the solution to marketing your web design business so you don't sound exactly like everybody else is the first thing that you need is the thing. Like, what is it that you're going to offer to people? Like, put together that, like, assemble your skill set and figure out what it is that you're going to offer to people. And now you've got something to talk about, right? Now you're sounding different from everybody else. Now you've got that valuable, you just added a gazillion dollars of value. It's like the difference between $30 worth of art supplies and the $15,000 work of art. That's what you just added, right? Or the difference between me going out to Home Depot and buying a bunch of lumber and having this awesome deck where I'm having parties and grilling out and having friends over. It's like those are two dramatically different things. And the vast majority of web designers find themselves entirely stuck selling raw resources, right? Selling lumber, selling screws, selling paint brushes and canvases. It's right. Like everybody puts that on their websites. And most of the reason that is because people haven't really thought through the marketing side, right? They just get really good at their craft. Like people like you and me, we get really good at like building websites and doing graphic design and making awesome logos or whatever your skill set is. You kind of really double down on that and you get good at it. And then you're like, boom, I'm really good. I can do this thing, but it's really difficult to take that next step and actually turn those raw resources into those works of art. That's where the challenge comes in. And that's ultimately what DoubleStack is all about. It's like, how can we take your specific skill set and wrap that up into something that really accentuates who you are? And not just your skill set, but your business knowledge and the interest that you have in certain markets and the experience that you can bring from your past life experience, wrap all of that up into something. And now you are the work of art. Like they're hiring you rather than just getting some raw resources out of the box. And when you do it that way, you can literally charge 10 times more than you would otherwise charge because you're selling these awesome outcomes. You're selling that $15,000 painting rather than like the 15 or 30 bucks worth of supplies that went into making the painting. And most web designers are stuck selling the raw resources that go into making the art, and they never take that step into, well, how can I put all of this together and, do my best stuff, like the things that I'm the most confident in and the things that I know that I can deliver the best to my clients. And then who would that be for? And how can I lay on top of that all of my experience that I've had, in the health sector, or working with law firms, or working with landscaping businesses, or running restaurants, or whatever it might be, that you feel like you can kind of lay on top of your kind of technology set. You've got this business development stack on top of that, and you combine all of that together, and now you've got something. Now you've got that, you've given me something to want. You see what I mean? It's like if you just list all the raw resources, I don't know how to assemble that in my mind. You're not giving me a picture of what I want. You're just showing me raw tools and stuff. It's like the reason why I can't visualize a $15,000 work of art by looking at a paintbrush and some canvases and a couple of tubes of paint. It's like, I'm not the artist, right? Like I can't look at that stuff and see how that's all going to come to life into something that's super valuable. What I need from you is for you to show me something to want. Like create something that I want and then tell me about it and tell me how great it is. That is how you take that step into high ticket web design consulting, is you create something that people want and then you show them the thing that they want and then they hire you and to get that thing. But that's the next step. You have to take the raw resources and then you take that next step to actually create something that I want. And then that unlocks the door to success. That's how you get these high ticket long-term clients. You can charge 10 times more, right? It's the difference between, 15 bucks of paint supplies versus $15,000 worth of art. It's the same stuff, but you're putting it together and showing it to me so that I want it. And then you've got something to talk about. And now your marketing is dramatically different from everybody else because you're talking about the thing I want. You're not talking about the raw resources that you can deliver. You're talking about the thing I want, right? That's the foundation to your business, at least the foundation for your marketing campaign. Now you can run multiple campaigns all at the same time and, work with different people at different times and whatever. So you're not pigeonholing yourself into only doing one type of thing. But the key is, if you would like to start, attracting the kinds of clients that are these high ticket, long-term, awesome clients where you're charging $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, give them something to want. It's as simple as that. Give them something to want. Nobody wants raw skills. Nobody wants to go to Home Depot and buy lumber. Nobody wants the lumber. Nobody goes to Home Depot because they want lumber. Never. They only go to Home Depot and buy the lumber because they want the deck. But that means you're requiring them to put in their own minds the picture of the deck that they want, right? So, and then they're willing to put the work into getting the resource and all that other stuff. So the key to marketing your web design is don't rely on your client to connect the dots between how working with you means winning clients for them. Instead, you connect the dots for them by saying, hey, look, here's what I've got. I've created something that is awesome. And now you've given them something to want. And now you can talk about that thing. And that fundamentally changes your marketing. So if you find yourself stuck not knowing what to say, the problem is you probably haven't given anybody anything to want. You're probably just talking about lumber. Like, what are you going to say about that? There's nothing to say about lumber. But in fact, you just got to go through this mental exercise. Suppose you were doing the whole deck thing. What would you do? And how would you market your business if you sold lumber, nails, and screws? What are you going to talk about? I don't know, maybe the lumber lasts long or something like that. I don't know. It's like, it's good lumber. It's not going to rot. That's about all you can say, right? But imagine what you could say if you had these awesome decks and you had all like the lights kind of out there at night, and you had, the tiki torches, and there's a grill out there and people are having fun, and, talk about that. Like, can't you tell an amazing story about how fun it is to hang outside? You've got this wonderful outside backyard oasis kind of a thing. It's like you can tell a story about that. Like you can get people to want that, right? And then, imagine that beautiful scene with grills and smokes and people having barbecues and drinks and like the Christmas lights dangling from the thing and tiki torches and people having fun, music. Like imagine that, and then contrast that against, walking through Home Depot and looking at some lumber, right? It's like, It's night and day difference. And then take that same concept and bring that into your web design business, right? So don't just be the Home Depot of web design where you've got all these raw resources. Give them something to want. Give them something to want. And then you can talk about the thing that they want. And now you've got a marketing story and people are getting excited, right? That's the key. That's the secret. You do that and you're going to win some high ticket clients. So if you want some help figuring that out, like what can you do? Like how do you package together the things that you're the best at so that you can create something that people want? And then how do you tell that story? And you want to get from here to there as fast as possible? Give me a call and we'll figure it out together. So head over to doublestack.net/call. Pick a time that works for you. You'll see my personal calendar pop up, and we'll set aside like 45 minutes to go through that exact thing to figure out how do you market your business without sounding exactly like everybody else, and what can you create that people want, right? Because it's like what I can create versus what you can create. Those are different things. What you want to do is figure out what you create the best, right? Like what combination of all of your past experience, your technical experience, the things that you're passionate about, like combine all of that into one thing. And that's your specialty. That's what you can do the best. That's your most valuable way to position your business. And that's how you can make the most money. And that's how you get the best results for your clients, because that's your best work. So hop on over to doublestack.net/call. We'll schedule a time to work that through, and you'll get some clarity on exactly how to market your business without sounding like everyone else, and how to actually attract your ideal clients rather than just relying on word of mouth referrals from time to time that you're not even in control of in terms of the frequency, and who even knows what they're going to ask you to do. Are they going to ask you to do your best stuff, or are they just going to hire you to use your skills to do some random, off the shelf thing? So head over to doublestack.net/call. We'll get on the calendar. We'll set aside like 45 minutes. Right after you pick that time, go ahead and fill out the application that's after that. I'm going to ask you like 4 or 5 questions so I get a link to your website. Tell me a little bit about what you do. So when we get on the phone, we can pack that 45 minutes filled with, awesome stuff so that we're making progress. And so you're giving your clients something to want. That's ultimately the whole goal. Give them something that you can do, that they can want, that they can get excited about, that they can envision in their lives. In the same way that we talked about the deck, imagine how awesome it would be to show up, you're having some drinks, just grilling out, lights, tiki torches, music, fun, friends. Like that's great, right? As opposed to walking through the dusty aisles of Home Depot. So don't do that. So head over to doublestack.net/call. We'll get on the phone. It'll be awesome. We'll have that 45 minutes, really dive in deep into your business and figure out a step-by-step plan to not only get you the clients that you want, but also the marketing story and the client onboarding process so that you can really get your business rolling in a way that you've never had before. So awesome. Great talking to you today. Looking forward to catching up with you. Head over to doublestack.net/call and I'll see you there. Boop. All right, take care.